Okay, so
This is an update.
here's an update. We've stopped recording. Okay, day 2, and we are going to give it a go. We're going to start the engine. So we overfilled the oil, like we said last night, but someone online has said it won't actually matter too much actually if we've overfilled it, as long as we keep it in low revs. What we're going to do just now is going to crack the injectors open, each line. Then we're going to crank the engine with the decompression levers up so it doesn't start, and that should bring the fuel up to the injectors. As soon as I see it coming out at that point, then I'll tighten them back down, and then we should be ready to give it a go. Push the throttle, push the pinion, and then bring it up like, yeah, horizontal. Yeah, a little bit more. That should do it. Alright, if you can press for 1 second. Now press for 2 seconds. Now 3. Got fuel coming out of this injector now, so that's good. Seeing fuel coming out of this one, so that's good. Okay, for 2 seconds.
2 seconds, yeah?
Yeah. A bit longer. It's not coming out of the first injector.
It's not coming out.
No. Try again. Oh yeah, that's it. And that's all the air out of the system. Okay, we've just bled the fuel up to the injectors, and fuel is coming out of 1, 2 and 3. And so now we're ready for an official starting attempt. Okay, keep your fingers crossed.
Okay. Tell me when.
And just hold it for sort of 5, 6 seconds until it should start, but
And then pull the lever back, yeah?
once it starts, yeah. So try 6 seconds
Now.
on. Yeah, go for it.
I mean, there's smoke coming out the back. Not smoke, but kind of.
I hear a noise, but I'm not sure what it is. It's like kind of like a humming noise, but I'm not sure what it is. Okay, try it for like 5, 6 seconds.
Well, the water's coming out.
Try it for maybe like 15 seconds or something, just to final.
Just shout if you want me to stop, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, go in.
Oh, it's not having it.
No, it's doing all the right things, but it's just not starting.
Yeah. Okay, so
This is an update.
here's an update. We've stopped recording. So the last thing you've just seen is water coming out of the air intake, which is on the other side of the engine than what the water should be coming out of, and it's salt water as well. As you saw, we were trying to bleed the injectors to try and start the engine for the first time. We were getting a good amount of fuel out of injector 3, which is at the stern, and not much out of 1 and 2, a little tiny dribble. So in my wisdom, I thought I'll try and start the engine just using cylinder 1, and that might be enough to get the fuel through on the other 2, and yeah, off and happy days. But so using the decompression levers, lifted 1 and 2 up, kept 3 down to start it on that has either created an airlock or a vacuum and sucked water back in, or it's not got enough oomph from the engine to push the water out of the exhaust, and it's just filled up and backed up, and it's gone straight through the block.
Not good.
It's not ideal.
No.
But because we've got decompression levers, it's not the end of the world. And so using all of the decompressing all of the levers and then cranking should be enough to get any seawater out of the block that is in there, or enough out to then be able to start the engine, which would then hopefully, once run up to temperature, burn off the rest of any seawater that is in there. So not end of, as much as that's what we thought.
Yeah, that's a moment of panic.
Panic. So then we were contacted by an amazing guy on through our Instagram account, and he offered to come down and give us a hand, because he was like, this is the point where, you know, it's great, you know, that you've done everything yourself, but to go any further than, you know, when there's issues and things, spot checking things and knowing what to do, you really need to have someone who knows what they're doing, and that's not really
us.
It's not really us.
No.
So his name's Guy, and he came down, and we can't thank him enough for all of his help.
Thank you.
Yeah, he came down, and we weren't getting enough fuel to the injectors because we hadn't bled them properly. We thought we did, but we didn't. So because we changed the 2 fuel filters at the same time, you've then got 2 big pockets of air that you've got to get through the system, and we pumped it and saw air coming out and then fuel coming out, and thought, yep, that's brilliant, all the air's come out. But then you've got this other big air bubble behind it, which is from probably the primary filter than the first one. So we just did a lot more priming of the lift pump, got this huge bubble of air out, and then we had fuel coming out of the injectors, and we were actually able to start the engine for the first time.
Yay!
Amazing. So we were able to start the engine, and we were able to then, I'm assuming, get out this water that was left in it. So happy days, thought everything was fine, and off we go. But then next time starting, we're still struggling to start the engine. We're putting sort of full throttle down to get it started. We're getting big plume of blacky or dark smoke to begin with, and then it is this big plume of white smoke, and it could be a bit bluish. So that's not ideal when you've just done all this work to the head, and you should be really sort of thinking you'd start on the button. From there, it then started to overheat when put into gear.
Not good.
Which was not an issue we had before starting this project.
Yeah.
With a bit more help from Guy, he said, look, just check the temperature of the pipes coming off of the engine to see if you're getting a good flow of coolant around the engine. And there's a return pipe that goes out of the engine and just does a loop, but it goes to our clarifier. So touching that, when the engine was getting warmer, one side was a bit warm, the other side cold, and really they should be effectively about the same temperature, a little bit cooler on the return. Obviously it's losing a bit of heat around the clarifier. So that was just stone cold. So obviously then there's not a coolant flow around the engine. So that, first of all, you're thinking airlock or something within that within the system. That could be a potential reason for the overheating. The smoke and things, and trouble to start, not too sure. So I decided at that point to get a pressure test done, because now, knowing now that actually that should have been stage 1 for us before even getting the head off. We should have had a pressure test of the engine, because that would have told you if you've got compression in all the cylinders, and maybe give you a bit of an idea of what's going on, if it was valved, if there was an issue to begin with the engine. So yeah, so decided to get mechanics in to do a pressure test, as I don't have the tools to do it myself. And the readings from that came back with 2 of the cylinders 2 and 3 were on 210 psi, and cylinder 1 was on 130. So a big reduction in cylinder 1. Then looking and researching what the spec should be, they should all be at least 375 psi. So they're all down, which is not great. So airlock or not, in the coolant side, we're still losing compression, which is either head gasket or piston cylinders, yeah, that sort of thing. So yeah, 2 things that you can only look for if you take the head off the engine. But our good friend Guy came back down, bless his heart.
Thank you, Guy.
And we decided, look, before we take the engine apart, let's just look for any issues we can first, test before we go to the stage of taking it apart, because once you're there, you either put it back together again, having not found anything, or you take the engine out. There's only 2 options. So let's find fault find as much as we can before we do that. Came down, and we decided to take off the return pipe from the clarifier, and using a hand pump push some coolant through, and we got a bit of air out of there. And then we thought, okay, brilliant, let's just try and crank her over and get a flow coming out, and then put the pipe back on and hope that solves the issue. On cranking the engine, huge explosion of coolant covering
The bedroom.
everything, the boat and Guy, and and that basically meant that there's the coolant or the water system's pressurized, and it's not supposed to be, unless obviously it's run up to temperature, which it definitely wasn't. So something's pressurizing. The only things that have pressure in the engine are either the cylinder, cylinders, pistons. Pretty conclusive that there's an issue either with the head gasket or further down in the engine. So with that bombshell, we've now
Dun, dun, dun.
taken the head back off the engine,
Yes, back on the nav desk. I can see it.
and it's back on the nav desk. and that's it. That's
your lot.
Yeah, that's your lot. That's you caught up to date. I don't want to say all of that work in the last few episodes for nothing, because it definitely wasn't. You know, we had the cylinder head refurbished, skimmed, crack tested, all the injectors pop tested, cleaned, all working fully. We replaced the exhaust elbow, cleaned through the heat exchanger and all that side of things. So all of that work was not in vain, but you know, potentially something has gone awry in either torquing down the head or further down in the engine, which was probably an issue before we even started, and not something we spotted.
Because we wouldn't have known.
Because you wouldn't have known.
No.
No. That's the problem with doing things yourself. You know, you follow the manuals and you go, yeah, this easily, you can take things apart and put them back together. But if there's an issue, you're not aware, you're not able to spot these things yourself and go, oh, it shouldn't be making that sound, or oh, the coolant shouldn't be pressurized, or so forth. So you can only go so far yourself, I think, until you've come across these issues and had to fix them. But having now taken the head off, we have found a potential cause, at least for the loss of compression in cylinder 1, which we'll show you now.
Ding!
Oh, my hands are slippy, hang on.
You might need a ratchet and a...
Oh, well, on the top ones maybe.
Might help
Oh,
hop it
I
up.
can hear that. What's that?
It's like air.
Sounds like lots of compression escaping from places it shouldn't escape.
Okay.
Oh, it's stuck. Okay, that's not there.
It wasn't so hard last time. Not that it helps us now.
You need to take those bolts off at the front.
Which ones?
Those ones, those three at the front.
This?
No,
Oh, these ones.
those ones, yeah.
That was those, yeah,
That's
true.
right.
You undo those.
Oh, do you want me to stand
So
around
tell
more?
you, if you could help us more often, Lauren, that would be fantastic.
I've got that on camera too. I'm quite proud of that moment.
Oh, don't show us up.
Yeah, and then someone will reply, and you wonder why it doesn't work.
Yeah,
Because Lauren's not been involved the whole way through.
this is it.
You test them to see how tight they are, and then just
Let
forget
them,
that.
yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Right, okay, so someone... Okay, this engine's been apart. That's why it's got low mileage.
What do you mean?
Someone's had this engine apart and rebuilt it.
How do you know?
Because they put punch marks in the cylinder, in the pistons. That's
Oh.
got number 2. That's number 3, because it's got 3 punch marks, and that's got 1.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing you need to check is once the top's clean,
Yeah.
go back a touch.
Other way.
No, that's the right way. Keep going.
That's top.
Okay, and then go round. Okay, so do you want some good news or some bad news?
Well, it sounds like it's bad news.
I think I know what's wrong with it.
It's not reaching the top.
Yeah,
Why?
bent the con roll.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good news.
Well, no, it's news.
No, it's good. It's good news as well because you know what's wrong with it.
Yeah, it doesn't quite reach the top.
No,
does
it doesn't. It's only got a bent con roll on number 1. That's actually that is really good news. Sorry, that's really good news.
Yeah?
Yeah. You know what's wrong with the engine.
Okay. But, yeah. Yeah, but I know it's an engine out job.
Yeah.
Right, okay, the cylinder has come back off, and The one issue we've seen is around here you've got soot and carbon. This one, cylinder 1 here, really clean. Cylinder 2, carbon around the edges here, which again it shouldn't be. This is all cleaned and it's only had literally 10 minutes of run time since we put it back together. And also down here, around this edge here, not happy with that. But issue that we've found with cylinder 1, if you see it coming up to the top here, that's where it stops, and that is not at the top. It's sitting, I don't know if you can see it, but you're sitting down, and that is as high as that one goes. So that is a big reason for loss of compression in number 1, because you're not getting the full compression. That's where we're going to start. We found a fault, and what that means, and what we've been told it means, is a bent conrod. At least we've got a potential cause of an issue, or a definite cause of an issue that we can now fix. Yeah, so what it means is that the engine's got to come out of the engine bay. Either way, that's what's happening now. We need to get underneath, need to drop the pistons out, and you can't do that with it in situ. What we thought was almost over, a journey that was almost over, is a journey that's just beginning. And
oh no.
Yeah, I mean, we can't afford a new engine, so we've got to try and fix the one we've got.
Yeah, simple as that, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, stay tuned for unfortunately for those who aren't interested in engines,
It continues.
more engine content. So you've got your cylinder 1, piston 1, all clean, not really any issues we can see there. Number 2, all of this marking here, this dark sort of soot down here as well, same sort of thing. And then on 3, same sort of thing up here, and down here as well. So yeah, that's the reason there, other than the bent conrod. On 1, we either didn't torque it down properly, or failed gasket, but yeah, we've got a bonehead gasket as well.